Let's talk about access management, because every data breach starts with one simple question: who should have had access, and who actually did? Access management is how organizations decide who gets in, what they can touch, and how long they're allowed to stay, basically the bouncer, the guest list, and the wristbands of cybersecurity all working together. Provisioning is the process of creating user accounts, assigning roles, and granting the correct access so people can do their jobs, while deprovisioning is the process of removing accounts and revoking access when users leave or change roles. On the exam, this appears when a scenario describes an employee being hired or terminated, and the correct concept is provisioning for adding access and deprovisioning for taking it away, because leftover access is like leaving the school doors unlocked after everyone goes home. Permission assignments define what users can read, write, modify, or execute by using access rights, granularity, roles and groups, and access control lists. A typical CompTIA scenario might describe a user who can read files but not delete them, which is testing granular permissions and the principle of least privilege, since giving only the access required reduces the risk of data breaches and accidental damage. Identity proofing is the process of verifying that someone is really who they claim to be, using documents, biometrics, knowledge-based questions, behavior, or electronic verification. On the exam, when a question mentions verifying identity before issuing credentials, the correct concept is identity proofing, because you can't protect access if you don't know who's actually knocking. Federation allows different organizations or systems to trust each other's identity systems so users can authenticate once and access multiple services across domains. A CompTIA-style scenario might describe logging into a school account and automatically accessing another platform without creating a new username, which points to federation in shared trust. Single sign-on, or SSO, lets users authenticate one time and then access multiple systems without re-entering credentials, improving usability while still enforcing strong authentication at the entry point. On the exam, when you see one login unlocking many applications, the correct answer is SSO, not supermemory. LDAP is a directory protocol used to store and retrieve user identities and attributes for centralized authentication. OAuth allows applications to access resources on a user's behalf without sharing passwords, and SAML securely exchanges authentication information between identity providers and service providers in federated and SSO environments. In scenarios involving web apps trusting external login providers, the correct technologies are SAML and OAuth, with LDAP often supporting the identity store behind the scenes. Interoperability means different systems can work together and understand each other's authentication and authorization information. CompTIA tests this when a scenario describes multiple platforms needing seamless login and identity sharing, and the correct concept is interoperability through shared standards and protocols. Attestation is the process of verifying and confirming that a system, user, or claim is authentic and compliant, often through formal validation or third-party verification. On the exam, when a system must prove its integrity or compliance, the correct answer points to attestation. Access control models define how permissions are enforced. Mandatory access control is system-enforced and label-based, discretionary access control is owner-controlled, role-based access control assigns permissions by job role. Rule-based access control uses predefined rules, and attribute-based access control makes decisions using user, resource, and environment attributes. Time-of-day restrictions limit access based on when users log in, and least privilege ensures users receive only what they need to do their jobs, which CompTIA loves because fewer permissions mean fewer security disasters. Privileged access management tools protect high-level accounts using just-in-time permissions, password vaulting, and ephemeral credentials so administrators get elevated access only when needed and only for a short time. In exam scenarios involving protecting admin accounts or temporary elevated access, the correct solution is PAM, because even superheroes shouldn't have their powers turned on all the time. The key takeaway is that access management ensures the right users get the right access at the right time and no more than that. And if this helped you understand today's topic, consider liking and subscribing for more cybersecurity lessons like this.